Success does not care how badly you wish for it. It doesn't answer prayers whispered in comfort, or intentions scribbled in journals left unopened. It answers only to the relentless, to those who show up, rain or shine, to those who refuse to quit, even when the world begs them to. There is a truth most people avoid their entire lives. Success is ruthless to the undisciplined. It does not entertain excuses. It doesn't care about your talent, your dreams, your potential. It only cares about one thing: your habits. Discipline is the currency of greatness, and without it, the price of mediocrity is non-negotiable. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your systems. Every day, every hour, every choice. The world will feed you lies to keep you soft. It will say you deserve rest before you've earned it. That balance means laziness in disguise. That failure is fatal. But the truth? The truth is brutal. The truth is simple. You either command your mind, or your mind will command you. Think of every great man or woman you've ever admired. Carnegie, Edison, Lincoln, Jobs. They didn't have perfect circumstances. What they had was control, mastery, the self-discipline to silence doubt, to delay gratification, and to sacrifice convenience for conviction. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a path, a set of invisible chains that do not confine you. They free you. The undisciplined crave freedom, and never find it. The disciplined sacrifice comfort, and become free. Understand this. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's getting up before the world wakes. It's working while others distract themselves. It's choosing pain now so you don't suffer later. And here's the secret no one wants to hear. Success doesn't come when you're ready. It comes when you've made yourself ready. Preparation is everything. You don't prepare for opportunity when it arrives. You prepare long before it shows up. You train in silence so that when life hands you a moment to rise, you don't hesitate. You execute. And that execution? That is the product of your discipline. Burn this into your mind. If you cannot master yourself, you will forever be mastered by circumstance. That's why success is ruthless. Not because it hates you, but because it is blind to weakness. It has no sympathy for the untrained, no mercy for the undedicated. Do you think Thomas Edison was handed light by accident? He failed 10,000 times. 10,000. Most people can't stomach failing once. But Edison didn't see failure. He saw feedback, and he kept going, because his desire for the goal was stronger than his craving for ease. That's what separates legends from the lost. Persistence with discipline. Want to know the truth about why most people fail? It's not because they lack vision. It's because they break promises to themselves. Every single day. You say you'll wake up early, and you don't. You say you'll train today, and you skip it. You say you want to build something great, but you scroll for hours. Every time you do that, you're voting for the weaker version of you. And the worst part? You're teaching your subconscious that your word means nothing. But discipline builds trust with yourself. It says, when I say I'll do something, it gets done. No matter what. That identity? That's power. That's momentum. And momentum is the engine of mastery. But here's the catch. Discipline must be built. It's not given. It doesn't show up because you're inspired. It's forged in the fire of repetition. Repetition in silence. Repetition when no one is clapping. Repetition when the results are invisible. That's where transformation begins. And the truth is, the life you want, the future you envision, it's waiting. But it's waiting on a version of you that hasn't shown up yet. That version doesn't binge comfort. That version doesn't beg for motivation. That version doesn't negotiate with weakness. That version wakes up with fire, attacks the day with structure, and leaves no room for mediocrity. That version of you is disciplined. But the price of admission? The death of your excuses. You cannot serve your dream and your distraction at the same time. You must choose one. Discipline demands that you kill the old you, the one addicted to comfort, to chaos, to being liked by everyone, and in its place, build someone relentless. You want to build an empire. Train your focus. You want respect? Master your impulses. You want to be unstoppable? Then conquer your mind and never surrender it again. Because when you do, when your mind is no longer your enemy, there is no man, no failure, no setback that can stop you. You will become a force, a machine of purpose, a weapon of vision, and you will no longer chase success. Success will chase you. But be warned. The moment you begin to take full ownership of your mind, the world will push back. Not because it's against you, but because your discipline exposes their apathy. Your consistency becomes a mirror, and most people can't bear to look. You'll be mocked for saying no. You'll be doubted when you say, "I'm building something." They'll call you obsessed, rigid, extreme. Let them, because obsession is simply clarity in a fogged-up world. And what they call extreme is exactly what it takes to rise above the average. They'll laugh until they watch you live the life they never had the courage to earn. You must become the kind of person who keeps the promise long after the mood in which it was made has vanished. That's the war. Not against others, but against your weaker self. And that war is fought daily. Not in a stadium, not in the spotlight, but in your kitchen at 5 a.m., in your decision to open the book instead of the app, in the silence of discipline when no one's watching and no one cares. Yet, those moments, they compound. One disciplined day becomes 2, then a week, then a year. And suddenly, you don't recognize yourself. The person you used to be, distracted, reactive, undirected, is gone. Replaced by someone forged in commitment, someone dangerous. Because, make no mistake, discipline makes you dangerous in the best way. Not violent, not reckless, but focused, purposeful, relentless. You become the rare one who doesn't fold when it gets hard. You become the one others look to when everything's falling apart. You become your own rescue. This isn't just about work. This is about your life, because the man who cannot command himself cannot command his destiny. Look at the giants of history. Lincoln mastered his emotions, even when betrayal clawed at him. Carnegie structured his time with precision most today would call madness. Ford built systems not just for machines, but for the men behind them. They were disciplined, and that discipline outlasted their lifetimes. That's the mark of a true legacy. Habits strong enough to echo through time. But here's the part you won't hear in self-help books. Discipline will hurt at first. It will feel like death. Because it is. It's the death of your lower self. The self that wants ease, comfort, validation. That self doesn't go quietly. It fights. It screams. It makes excuses. But if you can endure that death, something extraordinary is born. A mind like steel, a will that bends reality, a spirit immune to failure. Because once you've built discipline, you don't fear setbacks. You know setbacks are speed bumps, not dead ends. You don't panic when things go wrong. You pivot. Because your power doesn't come from your surroundings. It comes from within. And no one can steal that from you. Think about it. What would your life look like if you executed every promise you made to yourself for just 1 year? How different would your mind be? Your body? Your relationships? Your income? You already know the answer, because everything you need, you already have. The problem isn't the lack of tools. The problem is the lack of training. You haven't trained your mind to obey your will. But you can. Starting now. Every moment is a vote. Each time you act with discipline, you cast a vote for the future you want. Each time you fold to distraction, you vote for stagnation. The ballot box is open 24/7. What are you voting for? The cost of excellence is high, but the cost of regret is unbearable. And that's the truth they never tell you in comfort culture, that if you don't pay the price in discipline now, you'll pay it in regret later. And regret is a debt with compounding interest. So you must choose discipline or disappointment, structure or scattered dreams, self-mastery or self-sabotage. There is no third path. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being committed. You will fall, you will fail, you will stumble. But the disciplined man rises faster because he doesn't negotiate with failure. He learns from it. And in that learning, he becomes untouchable. You see, success doesn't just demand effort. It demands transformation. And transformation is brutal. It breaks you down before it builds you up. But if you stay the course, if you commit to your own evolution, if you outlast the chaos, then you rise from the ashes as something rare. A disciplined mind, a directed soul, a life on fire with purpose. And when that happens, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you command. You've burned the boats. There's no way back to who you were. Now what? Now you decide, with absolute clarity, who you will become. Because without a clear target, discipline becomes suffering. But with it, discipline becomes power. A man without vision is a machine without programming. He runs, he moves, he consumes energy. But he creates nothing. He circles, spirals, crashes. But a man with vision? He becomes inevitable. Clarity is not some mystical gift from the universe. It's a decision. It's waking up and saying, "This is what I want. This is who I must become. This is what I will no longer tolerate." Until you get crystal clear, you will drift. You'll hustle hard, but for what? Money? Status? Attention? None of it will last. Because the moment pain enters the equation, and it will, you'll quit unless the vision is deeper than the pressure. But when your vision is forged from purpose, nothing can touch you. Your environment can collapse. The people closest to you can doubt you. You might lose money, time, even years. But your mission? That stays. Edison didn't invent the light bulb in a moment of genius. He clarified his goal, to bring light to the darkness, and then disciplined himself through 10,000 failures. 10,000! Not one of them broke him, because the vision burned brighter than the obstacles. Do you understand how rare that is? A man who knows what he wants is already 90% of the way there. Because the world is full of noise, but clarity cuts like a blade. If you don't define your life, someone else will. Your job isn't just to work, it's to aim. Define the win. What does success mean to you? Not to your family. Not to society. Not to the crowd. To you. Write it down. Carve it into your brain. Visualize it every single day until it becomes realer than reality. Because if you can't see it in your mind, you will never hold it in your hand. Your mind is the workshop of the soul. And in that workshop, your dominant thoughts shape your dominant results. So guard that space like your life depends on it. Because it does. Clarity gives birth to confidence, and confidence fuels action. But it starts with a decision. And indecision, that is the real thief of dreams. Not failure, not rejection, not defeat. Indecision keeps you stuck in almost. Almost started. Almost succeeded. Almost changed. You want to kill mediocrity? Then kill hesitation. Move. Decide. Cut off the escape routes. Because once you commit with clarity, the universe starts to shift. Doors open. People align. Resources appear. Why? Because life doesn't reward potential. It rewards precision. It rewards those who know what they want and move like they already own it. You're not too late. You're not too old. You're not too broken. You're just too unclear. Get clear. Get brutal about it. Shed the excess. Delete the distractions. The clearer the signal, the faster the response. Think of your life like a magnifying glass. If the light is scattered, it warms. But if you focus that light, it burns. That's clarity. It ignites everything it touches. And when clarity meets discipline, you become a force no failure can stop. But don't just think it. Feel it. Make your vision so vivid you can taste it. See the home. Feel the handshake. Smell the office. Hear the applause. Touch the future before it arrives. Because once the mind accepts it as real, the body follows. That's not fantasy. That's physics of the soul. And the people who've built empires knew this. Hill said it himself. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief only grows in the soil of clarity. So burn your old map, the one built from fear, from conformity, from hesitation. Draw a new one, and let it lead you toward the life you refuse to live without. And remember, no vision, no fire. No fire, no discipline. No discipline, no legacy. Clarity alone isn't enough. You can see the mountain. You can map the path. But if your feet don't move, you die at the base of it. Vision without execution is hallucination. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. And the truth is, most people never cross it. They stop at someday. They stop at when I'm ready. They stop at the moment action feels uncomfortable. But success doesn't care about your comfort. It only responds to motion. Discipline is motion repeated, not when you feel inspired, but especially when you don't. That's the line in the sand. That's what separates talkers from builders. Discipline means doing what must be done, especially when your emotions scream for escape. You think Carnegie built steel empires by feeling good every morning? You think Ford revolutionized industry by waiting for motivation to strike? They moved. They built routines, systems, rituals. They became machines of forward momentum. Because the man who masters action no longer needs inspiration. He becomes the source of it. You can read every book, watch every video, visualize the perfect future. But if you don't build the habit of execution, you're building castles in the clouds. Start small if you must, but start. Wake up earlier. Cut the noise. Stop scrolling. Start building. Because what you do when no one's watching, that is who you really are. Discipline is private long before it becomes public. You want a better body? Move today. You want financial freedom? Make the call. Build the skill. Sell the idea. You want to lead? Start by leading yourself. Your calendar is your character. Your habits are your belief system in motion. Show me how you spend your time, and I'll show you what you truly worship. Success doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you schedule. The men and women who rise, they aren't more gifted. They're more structured, more ruthless with their time. They say no more often. They delay gratification like warriors, because they've learned that short-term pain is the price of long-term power. You will not drift your way to greatness. No one stumbles into a legacy. It is carved, one disciplined choice at a time. And let me tell you this, every single action is a vote for your future, or a vote for your destruction. Every meal, every dollar spent, every hour wasted, every hour invested. There is no neutral. You are always building something. Question is, will you like what you've built? The undisciplined live in reaction. The disciplined live in design. They create days. They don't just survive them. They stack momentum like bricks. One focused hour becomes two. One habit becomes a system. One win becomes a streak. And then, one day you wake up and realize, the mountain isn't so far anymore. But here's the truth most people run from. Discipline is lonely. It means being misunderstood. It means missing out. It means walking when others are resting, studying when others are partying, building when others are doubting. It means being different. But if you want what the few have, you must do what the many won't. There are no shortcuts, no hacks, no downloads, just choices. Pain now or pain later. Regret or reward. Discipline or destruction. You choose it, moment by moment, with your actions. You become unstoppable, not through one epic act, but through thousands of unseen ones. Success is not in the spotlight. It's in the shadows. It's in the 5 a.m. wake-ups, the ignored temptations, the second draft, the hard conversation, the lonely Saturday nights. And if you can do it when it's hard, when it's dark, when you're tired, when nobody claps, then you've already won. Because you've proven to yourself that you are not your emotions. You are not your weakness. You are not your fear. You are the fire that moves through them. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you different. You don't negotiate with your goals. You don't apologize for your ambition. You don't wait for the perfect moment, because you are the moment. And that kind of man, that kind of woman, is rare. Most people will never know what it feels like to wake up with absolute command over themselves. But you will, if you stay the course, if you keep moving, if you make discipline your religion. Because success isn't just ruthless to the undisciplined, it honors the relentless. There will come a day when everything falls apart. The plan fails. The money dries up. The people vanish. The weight becomes unbearable. And on that day, it won't be motivation that saves you. It won't be positivity or luck or even talent. What saves you is resilience. The strength to stand after you've been broken. The will to move after you've been crushed. The fire to rise even when it no longer makes sense. Resilience isn't given, it's forged. And it's forged in the same furnace that burns the undisciplined alive. Because life doesn't reward the sensitive. It doesn't pause for your pain. It doesn't hand you recovery time wrapped in comfort. Life throws bricks. It drops storms. It waits in silence to see who will crawl through hell and still move forward. And if you think success is a linear line of achievement, you're not ready for it. Because real success, legacy-level success, hurts. It tests you. It stretches you. It takes you to the edge of your breaking point. And then dares you to keep walking. You think Edison invented the light bulb on a streak of lucky experiments? Try 10,000 failures. 10,000 nights staring into darkness, believing in something no one else could see. You think Lincoln led a nation without being torn apart inside? He buried children, lost elections, faced mockery, battled depression, but he kept standing. Resilience is not about bouncing back. It's about pushing forward when you're still bleeding. You learn to build while broken. You learn to focus while afraid. You learn to believe even when belief itself feels like a lie. Because that's when you become dangerous. When failure doesn't shake you. When pain doesn't define you. When you look at setback and smile because you know. This is where most people quit. And you're not most people. You've trained for this. Your discipline prepared you for this. Your mind doesn't crumble. It calculates, it adjusts, it adapts. Resilience is the reward for years of internal work. It is the gift discipline gives you. The power to endure what destroys others. And here's the secret. Every failure teaches you something success never could. Success whispers, but pain screams the truth. It reveals who you are. It strips away the noise. It introduces you to the real you. And if you're brave enough to listen, to not run from the lessons, you don't just survive, you rise. Like steel in fire, you are reforged. Sharper, harder, more precise. The world respects resilience. It doesn't reward pity. It rewards perseverance. So when the storms come, and they will come, don't ask for the rain to stop. Ask for a better sail. Ask for a stronger back. Ask for the lesson hiding inside the storm. The greatest version of you is hidden beneath layers of pain you haven't faced yet. And that's why success is ruthless to the undisciplined. Because the undisciplined crack. They fold. They flee. They haven't trained for adversity. They've avoided it. But not you. You've chosen the harder road. The road of responsibility. The road of self-command. The road of growth at all costs. And that path, though filled with struggle, leads to a strength so profound that no loss can erase it. When the world says, "You're finished," you respond, "Watch me rise." When it says, "You're broken," you whisper, "I'm just getting started." When it tries to bury you, you remember, you are not a seed. You are the storm beneath the soil. Resilience isn't just mental toughness. It's a way of life. It's rooted in the choices you make every single day, especially the ones no one sees. The late nights, the early mornings, the silent battles, the quiet victories. That's where champions are made. In the shadows. When no one claps, when no one notices, but you keep going. Because you notice, because you know, because you refuse to be ordinary. And that is why resilience cannot be bought. It must be earned. And once earned, it cannot be taken. In a world that moves at lightning speed, in a world where trends rise and fall before the ink dries on your plans, the rigid are ripped apart, and the adaptable rise. Adaptability is not weakness. It is weaponry. It is the hidden advantage of the mentally elite. Those who don't shatter when the game changes. They shift. They don't panic. They pivot. You see, the undisciplined crave control. They cling to routine. They anchor themselves to comfort, to predictability, to familiarity. But success doesn't live there. Success is a current, ever moving, ever evolving. And if you're not prepared to flow with it, you drown in it. Because the moment you fall in love with the way things are, you become blind to what they could be. Greatness has never belonged to the rigid. It belongs to those who adjust without hesitation. Ford didn't invent the car. He revolutionized how it was built. Disney didn't invent storytelling. He reimagined how stories could live. And when the world told him animation was a novelty, he adapted and built an empire on what others called foolishness. Adaptability is intelligence in motion. It's your willingness to evolve before you're forced to. It's what separates the amateur from the master. Because the master knows this. Every environment changes. Markets shift. Trends fade. People come and go. But the self-aware, the disciplined, the mentally agile, they last. They last because they don't fight the wave, they ride it. Adaptability starts with one thing: the death of ego. Your ego wants to be right. Your growth wants to learn. Your ego wants comfort. Your potential wants pressure. And when you let go of who you think you should be, you become what you must be. The undisciplined confuse consistency with stubbornness. But consistency isn't doing the same thing forever. It's doing what works and evolving what doesn't. Do you know what's more powerful than a solid plan? A mind trained to rebuild the plan when the battlefield changes. Because it will. It always does. The economy turns. People betray. Technology disrupts. And if your identity is married to a method, you'll collapse when that method is destroyed. But if your identity is rooted in progress, in truth, in evolution, you become untouchable. Bruce Lee said, "Be water." Water doesn't resist. Water responds. It takes the shape of its container, but never loses its power. It flows around obstacles. It carves through stone. And over time, it conquers mountains. That's adaptability. That's your edge. The ability to shift strategies while never shifting standards. To evolve the vehicle, but not the vision. To bend without ever breaking. Because success doesn't care about your preferences. It doesn't adjust to your feelings. It rewards those who respond. And responding takes presence. Not anxiety, not overthinking, but the discipline to see things clearly and act with boldness. That's what allows you to walk into chaos and still execute. To face uncertainty and still perform. The world doesn't need more people who cling to plans. It needs warriors who adapt under fire. It needs visionaries who pivot when the path is blocked. It needs you. At your most focused, most flexible, most fiercely aware. Because here's the brutal truth. The world is not obligated to reward your effort. It rewards your effectiveness. And effectiveness means knowing when to push harder. And when to change direction. When to hold the line, and when to reinvent the battlefield. Success demands both stability and agility. It's not just about standing firm. It's about moving forward intelligently. And you will not get there by clinging to the past. You will not get there by worshiping the way things used to work. You get there by embracing what needs to change. And here's the good news. Adaptability is not a gift. It's a choice. A skill you sharpen every time you face resistance and say, "I will not break. I will become." Every time you meet chaos with calm. Every time you meet failure with flexibility. Every time you meet fear with the fierce decision to move anyway. You evolve. You expand. You rise. And eventually, you become the one others adapt to. That is the essence of a leader. Not one who controls everything, but one who controls themselves in anything. You want to dominate? Get flexible. Get sharp. Get ready to build, break, and rebuild again without losing your center. Because success is not just reserved for the strong, it is reserved for the strategic, the disciplined, the adaptable. And that is who you are becoming. The undisciplined believe they've already learned enough. The disciplined know they've only just begun. Because success is not a destination. It's not a title. It's not a dollar amount. It's a continuum. And it belongs to those obsessed with the process of becoming. True mastery doesn't come from what you know, it comes from what you apply, adapt, and refine. Day after day after day. The greatest minds in history, the Carnegies, the Edisons, the Da Vincis, they weren't born superior. They studied harder. They questioned more deeply. They stayed longer in the dark until they discovered light no one else could see. And when others celebrated arrival, they returned to the grindstone. They didn't chase praise, they chased progress. This is where the undisciplined fall apart. They read one book and think they've arrived. They win once and think they're invincible. But the disciplined? They treat every win as preparation for the next war. They stay humble in victory, hungry in defeat. They never stop learning, because they know, if you're not growing, you're decaying. There is no neutral. Either you're moving forward, or you're falling behind. And you can feel it, can't you? You feel when your mind is slipping into stagnation, when your fire begins to flicker, when you're repeating yesterday's moves, hoping for tomorrow's growth. That is the signal. The call to evolve. The call to learn again. Not passively, not casually, but with ferocity. Because learning isn't a school system, it's a lifestyle. It's a radical commitment to self-awareness, to confronting your ignorance and destroying it, to identifying your weaknesses and eradicating them. Success does not belong to the person who avoids mistakes. It belongs to the person who extracts gold from every mistake. Let this truth sink in. Every setback you face is a masterclass, if you have the discipline to study it. Every failure is a blueprint. Every embarrassment is a feedback loop. Every disappointment is a mirror, showing you what still must be sharpened. But that mirror is ruthless. It doesn't flatter you, it reveals you. And the question is not, will you fail? The question is, will you learn fast enough to make that failure irrelevant? Because the most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, not the smartest, not the most talented. It is the one who has trained themselves to learn faster than everyone else, to study patterns, to ask better questions, to adjust their approach without ego, to upgrade their tools, their thoughts, their circle, constantly. That person becomes inevitable. You want to be unstoppable? Then fall in love with iteration. Become obsessed with the version of you that is still hiding behind today's excuses. Understand this. There are no secrets left, no magic formulas, no shortcuts. There is only exposure and evolution. Expose yourself to the truth, to difficulty, to uncomfortable knowledge, and evolve through it. The undisciplined resist correction. The disciplined hunt for it. They ask mentors to dissect their weaknesses. They invite challenge. They seek feedback, not to defend, but to improve. Because mastery has no finish line. The better you get, the deeper the game becomes. What once looked like a mountain becomes a molehill. And what once looked like perfection becomes just the first draft. Do you understand now? Mastery is a mindset. It's not about knowing everything, it's about becoming the kind of person who can learn anything. And in today's world, that mindset is power. Because everything around you is accelerating. Technology, culture, competition, expectations. The rules are rewritten daily. And the person who wins is not the one who knows the most, but the one who adapts the fastest and applies the deepest. That means your hunger for growth must be violent. Your focus must be surgical. And your work ethic must be so sharp it cuts through your own limitations. You were not born to repeat. You were not born to plateau. You were built for ascent. You are a construction site, not a monument. Every day, something must be demolished, so something greater can be built. Your mind is a forge. Your habits are the hammer. Your actions are the fire. And what emerges is a weapon the world cannot stop. Not because you're the smartest, but because you never stop sharpening. So let the world sleep. Let the mediocre plateau. Let the masses numb themselves with distraction and dopamine. You learn. You grow. You become. And by the time they realize how far you've gone, it will be too late for them to catch up. Because success is ruthless to the undisciplined, but it bows to the mastered mind. There will come a day when nothing goes according to plan. When the storm you didn't expect crashes through your life like a battering ram. When every step feels like a betrayal. When the road you mapped out turns to dust beneath your feet. This is where the undisciplined disappear. But this is where you rise. Because pressure doesn't break you, it builds you. Pain doesn't define you, it refines you. You weren't made to collapse, you were made to conquer. Let the winds howl, let the skies darken, let the world misunderstand you. You will not flinch, you will not fold, you will not break. Because you've trained for this. You've spent years grinding in silence. You've sacrificed comfort for character. You've chosen sweat over sympathy. And now the fire is here. And instead of running, you walk into it. Why? Because you know something the undisciplined never learned. Resilience is a decision. It's not just a feeling. It's not born from ease or luck. It's forged in resistance. Steel is not hardened in cool air. It's tempered in flames. And the greatest version of you is still waiting in the heat. This is the difference. The undisciplined seek escape. They want out. They want shortcuts, sympathy, salvation. But the disciplined? They don't want out. They want through. Through the failure. Through the heartbreak. Through the rejection. Through the noise. Because they've learned that on the other side of pain is power. On the other side of loss is leadership. On the other side of adversity is advancement. Look at the world's greatest leaders. Look at Lincoln, who led a fractured nation while bearing the weight of personal grief. Look at Mandela, who emerged from 27 years of captivity not bitter, but bolder. Look at Oprah, who turned trauma into triumph, disadvantage into destiny. They didn't avoid pain, they outlasted it. And so will you. Because you've stopped asking, why me? You've started asking, what is this forging in me? That shift, that question, is what turns suffering into strategy. The undisciplined curse the storm. You study it. You map its winds. You build wings from its chaos. Because storms don't stop the disciplined. They introduce them. Every punch you take becomes fuel. Every setback becomes precision. Every scar becomes armor. And when life pushes, you push back harder. You do not wish for easier. You train to be stronger. Because in your world, adversity is not the end. It's the initiation. You understand that nothing meaningful is built in the shallow end. That greatness is not given. It's demanded. And every time you're knocked down, you remember, you're not here to be liked. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be undefeated. Even if you're bloodied. Even if you're limping. Even if your voice shakes as you say, I'm not done. You still rise. And that rising? That moment when most would stay down. That's where the legend is born. Because success doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your perfect plan. It only honors one thing, endurance. When the spotlight is gone, when the motivation fades, when no one is clapping, will you still show up? Will you still grind in the dark? Still hold the standard? Still believe, even when belief feels impossible. That's what separates the unstoppable from the forgotten. The undisciplined wait to feel ready. The disciplined move while trembling. They act when it's inconvenient. They push when it's painful. They persevere when every voice inside screams, quit. Because they know the truth. You don't earn resilience. You become it. It's not a personality trait. It's a forged identity, built in the moment of decision, when the odds are stacked, when the pressure is crushing, when escape is seductive, and you choose to endure anyway. Every trial is asking you, how bad do you want it? Every delay is whispering, will you still rise? Every detour is demanding, is your dream negotiable? And you answer, not with words, but with your will. You answer with discipline. You answer with your refusal to stop. Because this isn't a motivational speech. This is your manifesto. This is your commitment to become something most people will never have the courage to become. A person who keeps going, no matter what. Because the truth is ruthless. Success will not soften for you. Life will not slow down. Time will not wait. But you? You don't need it to. You're not asking for mercy. You're building muscle. You're not praying for the mountain to move. You're training to climb higher. Because success is ruthless to the undisciplined. But it rewards the relentless. And that's who you are now. Not perfect. Not invincible. But undeniable. And in a world that gives up too easily, that alone makes you unstoppable. There is a force more powerful than motivation, more focused than ambition, more grounding than talent. It is alignment. When what you want, what you believe, and what you do All move in the same direction. When your mind stops negotiating with your emotions, and your actions stop contradicting your words. This is when you become undeniable. Because most people live fractured lives. They say one thing, do another, and wonder why they feel lost. They pray for greatness, but run from commitment. They chase dreams with feet stuck in distraction. But not you. You've chosen the rarest path of all, the aligned path, where vision is not just written on a wall, it's etched in your actions, where your values are not just something you talk about, they are something you bleed for. This is where true power lives, because when your mind, body, and spirit are aligned, there is no resistance left. There is only forward. Your mind stops pulling you one way, while your habits drag you another. Your goals stop sounding like wishes, and start looking like war plans. Because when you're aligned, you no longer hope things will change. You make them change. Discipline becomes more than a habit. It becomes identity. And identity is where destiny begins. You wake up and no longer ask, "What should I do today?" You already know, because your purpose isn't just an idea. It's a command. It whispers to you in the early hours. It echoes in the silence between distractions. It shouts when you try to numb yourself with comfort. It keeps showing up because you've chosen to listen. Most will never find this. They'll spend years building lives that look good but feel hollow. They'll sacrifice their soul on the altar of approval. Live for weekends. Trade purpose for popularity. But you? You burned the script. You stopped asking for validation and started writing your own definition of success. And it isn't built on noise. It's built on non-negotiables. Because when you're aligned, you don't need to be forced to act. You're pulled by something deeper. You don't procrastinate. You pursue. You don't seek permission. You move. And every step is backed by belief, anchored in vision, driven by something unshakable. This is what separates the lost from the legendary, the reactive from the relentless. Alignment doesn't make life easier, but it makes you unstoppable, because you no longer fold under pressure. You flow through it. You no longer chase outcomes. You embody them. You've turned discipline into direction, and direction into destiny. You've stopped living by mood and started living by mission. And let the world call you obsessed. Let them misunderstand your intensity. Let them mock your standards. Because what looks like obsession to the undisciplined is called purpose by the greats, and you've decided to become one of them. You've aligned your life with something eternal, something bigger than ego, bigger than profit, bigger than applause. You've chosen to live for impact. And impact doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you repeat with precision, from what you do when it's inconvenient, from the 1,000 invisible choices that no one claps for, but shape everything. This is what it means to be ruthlessly committed, to rise early when it would be easier to sleep, to speak truth when silence would be safer, to keep going when doubt screams louder than faith. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, it's sacred. It's the alignment of intention and execution. The quiet discipline of a life on fire. Not for applause, but for purpose. This is what the world needs now. Not more content, more conviction. Not more speed, more direction. Not more goals, more alignment. Because a disciplined person out of alignment becomes a machine. Productive, but empty. But a disciplined person in alignment? That's a force the world cannot ignore. Because when you know who you are, and why you're here, and you refuse to compromise, you become dangerous to every excuse, to every limitation, to every mediocre voice that tells you to just be realistic. Because you know, realism never built legacies, comfort never started revolutions, and compromise never changed history. Only aligned souls do that. Only those who move as one, mind, heart, and body, toward a cause they would bleed for. That's who you are now. Not perfect, not finished, but fearless in your direction. And in a world full of distraction, that makes you rare. And in a world full of noise, that makes you loud without speaking. You don't chase your destiny anymore. You walk in it. Because discipline brought you to the edge, but alignment gave you wings. There comes a moment, if you stay the course, when something inside you shifts. When discipline is no longer just something you do, it's who you are. The grind that once felt like war now feels like alignment. The habits that once felt like struggle now feel like breathing. You no longer force yourself to stay focused. You are focus. You don't have to remember your why. Your existence is the why. This is the power of identity. Because success isn't just about doing more. It's about becoming more. You can copy someone's routine, their strategies, their steps, but you can never replicate their identity. Because your results don't come from what you try. They come from what you believe yourself to be. And when you become the kind of person who doesn't quit, who doesn't tolerate average, who doesn't lie to themselves, you stop needing motivation. You become momentum. This is what separates the successful from the obsessed. The successful achieve goals. The obsessed become embodiments of their purpose. They no longer try to do hard things. They are the kind of person who does hard things. And that shift is everything. Because the world bends to identity, not effort alone. You'll never outperform the standard you've set for who you are. You can grind all day, but if deep down you still see yourself as weak, you'll collapse under pressure. But when you own the identity of a champion, of a finisher, of a disciplined warrior of vision, there is nothing external that can break you, because the work is no longer about the outcome. It's about the integrity of the self. You don't eat clean for the abs, you eat clean because that's who you are. You don't wake up early for productivity hacks. You rise because your purpose demands your presence. This is the highest level of discipline. When it's not forced, when it's not painful, when it's not even optional, it's natural. Because you've made a decision to live as the person you said you'd be when no one believed in you. That person who refused to betray their future for a moment of ease. That person who buried their excuses so they could rise in purpose. That person who said no to comfort so they could say yes to greatness. It's not about perfection. It's about honor. And your identity must be guarded like a fortress. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, you're not just skipping a task, you're chipping away at your identity. And every time you keep a promise, you're not just building discipline, you're becoming unstoppable. Because success is not a goal, it's not a dollar amount, it's not a destination. Success is a standard, it's a code, it's a decision made over and over again that I will not betray who I'm becoming, even when it hurts, even when it's lonely, even when no one is clapping, especially then. Because success doesn't happen in the spotlight, it's forged in the shadows, in the mornings when no one sees you, in the nights when no one calls, in the moments when you could quit, but don't. That's where your identity is being etched into stone. And once it's locked in, once you know beyond a shadow of doubt that you are the kind of person who does not break, does not fold, does not lie to yourself, the world changes. Not because it became easier, but because you became harder to stop. You're not chasing success anymore. You've become the kind of person success chases. Because you're reliable. Because you do what you said you'd do. Because you honor the process more than the praise. That's rare. And what is rare becomes powerful. So yes, success is ruthless to the undisciplined, but it bows to the relentless. It yields to the aligned. It responds to the unshakable. And if that's who you're becoming, then you don't need to force success anymore. You just need to keep becoming you. The real you. The one who isn't seduced by distraction. The one who isn't weakened by fear. The one who isn't dependent on outside permission. But rather, the one who decides, then disciplines, then destroys every wall between them and destiny. The one who has trained the mind into a weapon, the will into a hammer, and the identity into a force. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not what you do, but who you are. And now, you're not becoming successful, you're becoming inevitable. You will be tested. Not once, not lightly, but relentlessly. The moment you declare your intention to rise, the world responds, not with applause, but with resistance. And it won't ask if you're ready. It won't care how hard you've trained. It won't give you time to adjust. It will hit you in your weakest place. It will whisper the old lies with a louder voice. It will drag the weight of your past right back to your doorstep. And in those moments, success isn't about your plan. It's about your resilience. When you're knocked off your rhythm, when the structure breaks, when the voice in your head says, just give in. What's left? Identity. The undisciplined shatter here. They rewrite their standards to fit their circumstances. They bargain with mediocrity. They retreat and pretend they never wanted it that bad. But the disciplined? They rise inside the storm. They don't ask for the chaos to stop. They become stronger than the chaos. Because discipline is not just repetition, it's reinforcement. Every rep, every refusal to quit, every moment you show up when it's inconvenient, you're not just executing a task. You're fortifying a fortress. And one day, that fortress saves your life. When everything collapses around you, when they leave, when you fail, when you lose, and you have nothing left but your habits, your convictions, and your decisions. That is when you discover. Success was never about how high you could reach. It was about how hard you could get hit and still keep walking. That's when the breakthrough comes. Not during the high, not during the victory lap, but deep in the silence of the valley, when no one sees you bleeding but you still don't break. That's when the universe nods. That's when God starts moving mountains on your behalf. Because you didn't curse the test. You embraced it. You didn't demand comfort. You welcomed challenge. You didn't say, "Why me?" You said, "Try me." That's the language of winners. That's the mindset of legends. That's the heart of those who will leave behind more than wealth, more than titles. They will leave behind a standard. A message written not with ink, but with blood, sweat, and unwavering integrity. This is what is possible when you refuse to be average. So yes, you will suffer. But suffering isn't a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're forming, forging, refining. Just like steel. Just like fire makes the blade. Do you think Carnegie built an empire without being betrayed? Do you think Edison created the light bulb without being mocked? Do you think Lincoln held the Union together without depression and agony? Do you think Mandela walked out of prison without scars? Number they bled for greatness. And so will you, because success doesn't reward talent. It rewards tolerance for pressure. It rewards those who stare down pain and say, "I will not bow to this. I will rise because of this." And the undisciplined? They search for the exit. They want shortcuts. They pray for hacks. But the disciplined don't flinch. They don't negotiate with weakness. They don't give timelines to their purpose. They don't trade their future for relief. They own every step, no matter how long, no matter how hard, no matter how brutal. Because they know success is war. And in war, you don't just need a dream. You need a code. A code that holds you when your emotions betray you. A code that guides you when the map is gone. A code that says, "I finish what I start." I don't break when it's hard. I rise when I fall. And I am not done until I win. That code is discipline. And it doesn't just lead you to success. It builds a version of you success cannot ignore. So if you're in the storm right now, don't pray for it to end. Pray to rise within it. Because if you can win there, you can win anywhere. There comes a point where the work is no longer about you, where the effort you pour out each day stops being just about achievement and starts becoming a message for the next generation. Discipline transforms from a personal weapon into a public witness, because someone is always watching, your children, your peers, the silent observer who hasn't yet found their voice, the ones who need to see that it can be done. And they won't be moved by your words, they'll be moved by your walk, by how you show up when no one claps, by how you stay grounded when applause floods the room, by how you rise again and again, without bitterness, without blame, without shortcuts. This is how legacies are built. Not in comfort, not in convenience, but in the crucible of repetition. Every early morning, every lonely grind, every decision to keep standards high when everyone else is lowering theirs. It echoes beyond this moment. Because your habits don't just shape your life. They shape what's possible for others. They become a blueprint for the ones who come after. Think about this. What if Carnegie had quit at his first failure? What if Soichiro Honda gave up after his factory was bombed? Twice. What if Harriet Tubman said, "This is too dangerous," and chose silence? Their discipline didn't just change their destiny, it changed the future of entire generations. That's what success really is. Not accumulation, not applause, but impact. And the world does not remember the undisciplined. The world remembers the few who held the line when everyone else wavered. The ones who turned adversity into advancement, pain into purpose, distraction into focus. You want to be remembered? Then don't just be motivated, be dependable. Let people look at your life and say, "He didn't need to be pushed. She didn't need the crowd. They didn't need conditions to be perfect. They just showed up." That's rare, and what is rare becomes revered. Because in this soft age of instant gratification and artificial validation, a disciplined soul is a revolution. You become the exception, the immovable force in a world of drift, the builder while others demolish, the calm while others panic, the visionary while others get lost in noise. And you do it not for validation, but because you have standards that can't be negotiated. This is the unspoken code of greatness. This is what separates those who make noise from those who leave ripples in history. But understand this. Discipline demands that you outgrow your excuses. It demands you outgrow the stories that once protected your ego. It demands you outgrow the people who loved your laziness more than your growth. It demands you outgrow yourself. Because the version of you that settles cannot survive in the kingdom of excellence. You will have to bury them, and it will feel like grief. But what dies is weakness, and what rises is destiny. That's why so few ever reach it. Because comfort is seductive. And mediocrity? It masquerades as peace. It says, "You've done enough." It says, "Take it easy." It says, "Who are you to want more?" But the disciplined recognize the voice of limitation. And they reject it, not once, but daily. Because they don't live for what's easy. They live for what's eternal. They live to embody what others only preach. They live to be a bridge between what is and what could be. So if you're tired, good. It means you're fighting. If you're doubting, good. It means you're growing. If you're bleeding, good. It means you're in the arena. But don't you dare stop. Because there's a young version of you still watching, hoping someone proves it's possible. And one day, you'll look back and realize the battle was never just about success. It was about becoming someone success couldn't live without. And that kind of person, the one who endures, who evolves, who executes no matter the obstacle. They don't fade. They leave footprints in time. So keep walking, keep building, keep choosing the path of most resistance. Because that's where the real crown is found, and only the disciplined will ever wear it. Let the final truth be carved into your consciousness. Success is not a reward. It is a response to your consistency, your character, your conviction. It is not given. It is summoned by every act of will, by every moment of integrity when no one's watching, by every brutal decision to show up when it would have been easier to hide. This world is full of dreamers, full of talent, full of brilliant people who start strong, but fade fast, because they never made the decision to finish. They never trained the muscle of mental dominion. But you are not here to flirt with potential. You are here to master it. And mastery has no sympathy for excuses. It does not coddle the weak. It does not comfort those who wait. It honors only those who conquer themselves. So here, now, let it be known. The battle isn't against the world. It never was. It's against the voice in your head that says, I can't. The part of you addicted to comfort. The part that settles, that shrinks, that apologizes for wanting more. That's the real war. And when you win there, when you master that battlefield, nothing on earth can stop you. Not rejection, not setbacks, not critics, not doubt, not failure. Because discipline makes you unbreakable. It turns storms into fuel, criticism into clarity, chaos into focus. And that's the moment you stop needing permission. That's when the world starts moving out of your way. Because the world makes room for those who know where they're going. And that's what mastery gives you. Direction. Unshakable. Undeniable. Uncompromising. You walk into rooms and your energy speaks before you do. You move through pain like a blade through smoke. You no longer seek balance. You command alignment. Because you didn't wait for motivation. You chose devotion. You didn't fake strength. You forged it. You didn't pray for a lighter load. You built the strength to carry the weight. And now, you are no longer ordinary. You are no longer swayed by trends, by temptation, by weakness. You don't chase what's easy. You become what's necessary. You hold the line. You build in silence. You walk alone if you have to. Because you understand. Success is ruthless to the undisciplined, but loyal to the relentless. And now, it's your turn to rise. Let others sleep. You train. Let others complain. You execute. Let others quit. You endure. Because you are the example. You are the fire. You are the signal to the world that discipline is not dead. That greatness is still possible. And when they ask you how you did it, you won't need to say a word. They'll see it in your eyes, in your posture, in the peace that lives inside a person who knows who they've become. So rise. Building, bleed if you must, but never retreat, never settle, never allow the old version of you to lead. Because your destiny is waiting, and it only answers to the disciplined. This is your time. This is your calling. Be ruthless with your potential. Be relentless with your purpose. And become the person that success cannot ignore.